Good morning, AV addicts. So, what are we going to do today? Well, it's a beautiful day, so I thought we would go down to the Bournemouth Aviation Museum, which is at Hurton Airport. It's a lovely little museum. Again, it's run by great volunteers, it's really close to the airport, and it's well worth visiting. So, chocks away, here we go. So, you walk through the shop, and then you come straight here, and then there's various cockpit sections. So, here we have a nice Jetstream 31 cockpit. Fortunately, you can't go in this one, but quite a few of the cockpits you can look inside, which is brilliant. The thing I like about this museum is it's got lots and lots of different things to look at. So here you've got the beautiful collection of some civilian aircraft like this lovely Viscount, which was used for parcel force. And then obviously you've got this 737 here as well as a bus. No museum would be complete without a nice collection of models and bits and pieces here, and this is certainly no exception. Very nice collection of models, as you can see, and some of them are rather well organised, obviously into different types, and well, that's an interesting looking bookend of a Buccaneer. And then obviously you've got some more models here, so it's rather nice. Just a quick canter through these before we get to the real stars, which quite honestly are the aircraft. Like a lot of museums, this also has a lot of books for sale, which is absolutely brilliant if you like aviation books. Certainly another one close by is the Boscombe Down Aviation Collection that we will look at as well. But look at that, all books £2, including this, which I must have. It's about from Pierre Closterman, and it's his biography of his wartime exploits. There's lots of little treasures at this museum. So for instance, here we have the history of Bournemouth Aviation Museum and the sites around it, because obviously Bournemouth Airport used to be RAF Herne. So it shows its beginnings from the very, very early days of aviation, right the way through. And so it's quite an amazing sort of thing. We won't go through it all. This obviously is quite poignant. This is a memorial, or a display, I should say, to Flight Lieutenant John Egging, who sadly died during preparation for an air show at Bournemouth on the seafront. So you've got a tribute to him by way of this beautiful model, and also various bits and pieces of memorabilia, and an original flying suit from another of the Red Arrows. So that is really quite a touching tribute to a brave flyer with the famed Red Arrows. Then we go through other bits of local aviation heritage. So you've got Christchurch, which obviously had various places and various factories that built things, from Sea Vixen. I think there was an airspeed factory down there, as well as Folland. So there's quite a lot of local history covered in here. Being a sad grassroots aviation enthusiast, often spy things that may not be of use here, but might be of use to someone else. So this is a single seat Lightning canopy next to 737. There's something quite amazing about the smell of these aircraft. It's a mixture of all sorts, to be honest: paints, fabric, heat, all the bits and pieces that make that so. A great thing is being able to look actually around the cockpits and see inside. So this is the Viscount that ended up as a parcel force freight aircraft. So you can see it's quite an amazing sight when you look inside it. Fantastic. Well worth coming and having a better look at. A stewardess, unfortunately, appears to have lost her head. So this is the 737 200 series. Hiding in the corner, unfortunately hiding, but still worthy of looking at, is one of the V-bombers. And this is one of the Annie Page Victor aircraft, which ended up as a tanker. Yep, Sauce Cecil. So you can imagine she was involved during right the way through the Cold War, right up until the Gulf War, and she still has her artwork on her. Unfortunately, this one isn't open today. And if we look round, museums cannot be complete without part of the mighty Vulcan. And that is exactly what this is. Absolute, stunningly gorgeous aircraft. One of the prettiest aircraft. And again, this one's equipped for air-to-air refuelling, and has got a modification to keep the assorted shite off it. Well, being a mad aviaddict, I cannot resist going and seeing inside a cockpit. So, let's see if we can do this without falling over. So we're going up the forward hatch into the Vulcan bomber. Woo! Non-authorised persons beyond this point, well, you'd be hard pressed to get in here. But yep, wow. So what you had with the Vulcan, and this is a B2, is a lot of people find it interesting, or odd, I should say, that the Vulcan has a single stick and not a yoke to control it. Obviously it had powered flying controls, so it was quite an agile aircraft, and the powered flying controls obviously made it easier to fly in terms of control forces. So you've got a completely stocked out cockpit there, really nice. And you've got that for your windscreen and various other bits and pieces. The hatch would fire off if you ejected, and each of the pilots had an ejection seat, unlike the unfortunate rear crew who did not. So here you've got the various people in this aircraft, which I believe is XH537. So you've got the navigator's seat there, so they would have to bail out, which would not be very easy, but would be through the hatch down here. Then in the middle you've got the nav plotter, and then on the end you've got the AEO, the Airborne Electronics Officer or Operator. There's the ubiquitous nav bag that everyone was given joining the service if you're aircrew, and then you've got an almighty large number of dials and plots, screens and other bits and pieces to look at. It's quite something to see inside a Vulcan, and one day we'll do a proper cockpit tour when we've got a bit more time. Unfortunately the Lightning is not open for us to have a look at today, but we'll come back another time, or I'll show you around another Lightning, probably at Cockpit Fest later this year, in the silver anniversary year of it, which is this year 2025. From the Victor, it's quite cool that they've also got things like this, the yellow bus from the airport and around the local area, which is good because basically lots of other things are used on these airfields and are not normally in museums. So this is the end of the runway caravan, which is used to make sure that the pilots had their undercarriage down. So like a final check before they landed, because that would be rather expensive. We next come on to a beautiful Meteor. This is the NF Night Fighter variant, probably an NF10 or an NF11, but I'm sure someone will correct me when I get it wrong, as I will. So you've got these beautiful big engines here, thinking they're Derwents, are probably wrong. And then of course you've got your history board for each of these aircraft. Nice big long nose, incorporating the radar. So let's go and have a look inside this one. So again, it's really cool, you're allowed to go up and look inside these. Museums are doing this more and more now, often. There is a bit of damage that's done by some people who bang things around and sticks and stuff like that. So again, of the period, 50s, so what you've got here is you've got a lot of jet black and non-ejection seat aircraft. You can get into this, I'm not going to do that, but we will one other day, hopefully. View forward is quite restricted by the nose, But again, nice cockpit, nicely stocked and full. From the Meteor, there's a big old pile of ordnance and bits and pieces, rocket pod, and being a complete hunter nut, got to be looking at this aircraft. Beautiful Orca Hunter. So this is an F6, and again it's in nice black colours, which could well mean that it's painted to reflect the black diamonds, but I'm probably wrong with that. But hey ho, tell me in the comments if I am. By the way, if you like this, please like and subscribe, and tell us what you might want to see in future. If there's any aircraft you would like us to have a good look around anywhere in the UK, shout it out and we'll see what we can do. Interesting thing at the moment, that's the King's Crown. So this was used by the RAF right up until Queen Elizabeth had her coronation in 1953. Then we went to the Queen's Crown, but now with Charles III we are back to the King's Crown. So this is One-Eleven Squadron, which was a very, very famous squadron right through the First World War and then into the Battle of Britain and into the future. Again, it's the law that I look inside a cockpit. So this is inside the Hunter cockpit, which again is nicely stocked out with bits and pieces. The Mark 6 is completely different. One day I'll do a cockpit tour of my F1 and F2 Hunter cockpits, and you'll see how different this F6 is. It's got a drogue chute here, which is this lovely little switch. I don't know, there we are, that little switch there, shaped like a parachute, so you would stream the chute to slow down when you landed. It's got the later type of control column here as well, or control grip, and obviously that's the gun side at the top. Again, we'll do a much better tour when we've got more time. I'm not doing a whistle-stop tour of cockpits that you can come and see, just to give you a flavour of what's to offer at the Bournemouth Aviation Collection. From the Hunter, we've got a rather nice Vulcan Nat, which obviously has local history, because it was probably built at Hamble, so that's a lovely thing. These were of course used by the Red Arrows, and Ray Hanna was their leader, as the Yellow Jacks before that he was, and was flown with a lot of, they call a plom, whatever that means. And this is a particularly beautiful little one. This is XR541, and that was built just up the road. Then we've got a Jaguar, which of course was a consortium aircraft, built by Sepicat, sort of Anglo-French aircraft. Great aircraft. And then we move over. I don't think we're allowed to go in the cockpit of that one, sadly, but here's the JP5, so the Jet Provost, originally built by the firm Percival. Trace its roots back to Percival aircraft, then became Hunting, and then British Aircraft Corporation. So this is, if you like, the last of the Jet Provosts, if we don't include things like the Strike Master. But the last for the Royal Air Force anyway. And here we go. By the way, if you want to add anything in the way of comments, please do so, because I won't get everything right. I'm doing this all from memory, and if I get something wrong, just change it in the comments. Try to be kind, and then hopefully everyone will get to know as much about these wonderful aircraft as they can. These Mark IV ejection seats, JP, particularly the Mark V, delightful aircraft to fly. Remarkably easy even for a non-pilot like myself. It was one of my favourite jets to fly back in the day. So let's come out of the JP and we'll look to the predecessor of the Jet Provost, was the Piston Provost. And here she is. Very underrated aircraft in my view, used a lot by the RAF and the other services. Great little trainer, quite powerful with its Leonidas engine. So we'll just have a quick whiz about, have a look at her. Fantastic, lovely aircraft. For me personally, This is one of my favourites. Again, we'll do a full cockpit tour later in the year, but not of this aircraft. This is probably quite bare inside. This one's interesting in that it's armed. It has the wing-mounted machine gun, and it also has bomb racks for 4 bombs on that starboard wing. This was known as the pilot maker, and a lot of people who went on to fly Spitfires, Vulcans, Mustangs, you name it, started off on this. Predecessor before this, well, it's also used at the same time as things like the Mars Master, which came in a radial version, and also one powered by the Kestrel. Lovely aircraft. So the hardwood was made, designed by North American Aviation, but it was also used made by Norwegian out in Canada under license. They were recently used by Air Forces even up to the South African Air Force until quite recently, and whilst mostly used as a trainer, they were used for ground attack and other bits and pieces, but not by the RAF. We've then got, good question, looks like another Viscount, and I'm probably wrong. Let's have a look. Oh, we can go in this one. If it's another Viscount, we won't. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. What a pudding and a trunk am I. This is the Annie Page Dart Herald. So let's have a look at this. So it's the same sort of age as the Viscount we saw. Looks a bit ugly as the Viscount. Watch me hit. Some sort of hat is in order. Quite a nice back area here. Cockpit looks a little bit more modern than a Viscount. You've got some very interesting control columns there, so control yokes. Remember the Vulcan we saw? So this is probably a similar weight of aircraft, but it has a traditional yoke for the pilot and the co-pilot. So that's all rather nice. Coming out of the Herald, we now see an aircraft that I've got a close link to. This is the old BAC One-Eleven, BAC One-Eleven, that used to be with ECPS Empire Test Pilot School, as it says on the aircraft, and was at Boscombe Down for many years. Got quite a few hours in this one over the years. Another story, but it was used for flight test training and of a multi-engined aircraft. And we did various syndicate exercises on that aircraft. Anyway, enough of that. I'm hoping we can go in her. I actually haven't been in this aircraft since I graduated, so hopefully we can go in it. Top of the back steps. Right, you have to be accompanied by an adult. I hope that includes me. So this goes through the story of the BAC One-Eleven and how it was created as a short haul aircraft, how it saw service all over the world, which is pretty cool. The old seats, which I know and love beautifully. Then this is the story of the various BAC One-Elevens that were operated at Boscombe Down. So this is ZE342, and then you've got various ones that were used for radar trials, used by DRA, which was Defence Research Agency, which was what the Royal Aircraft Establishment at Farnborough became. 105 was a particularly interesting aircraft, and to be honest, really was worthy of being preserved, but unfortunately was not. But she had quite an interesting story, which we'll get into on another day. And then this is about 432, and particularly, and shows it right at the end of its service, in those colours right at the bottom. And yeah, beautiful aircraft. Anyway, let's walk into the cockpit. Yep, some nice models of various BAC One-Elevens. I know this place. It's nice to get a nice hot cup of coffee in the back of this aircraft. Oops, various bits and pieces, and of course the cockpit. So there's the jump seat. I spent a merry old time on there. And then what you've got is this much more modern looking cockpit. Now moved to the sort of grey that you tend to get in all modern aircraft, airliners. There's the overhead panel. And then you've got bits and pieces that are added for the flight test side that the school used to do. So it's got a few upgrades that you would not normally get. If we come down here and look on here, you'll see that there's a more modern navigation system. It's also instrumentation to actually record data on the aircraft. So, pretty good. Okay, so let's walk on the back. Lots and lots of circuit breakers to work with. This trolley most certainly was not on ZE 432 when we had her at Boscombe Down. No way did anyone bring me a nice sandwich or a nice hot meal ever in this aircraft. This is a nice general view of the museum. And there you've got a great big engine. It's like one of the Avon family. And then we come into, quite rightly, this aircraft is kept, this Vampire is kept under cover because a lot of it is made of balsa wood. It actually shares a lot of design features with the Mosquito, the famous Mosquito twin-engine, Merlin engine-powered aircraft of the Second World War. So you can actually see the plywood there, and that makes up the cockpit. So again, let's go up into the cockpit and see what that looks like. It's going to be a step back from what we saw in the Hunter. So you've got Mark III family ejection seats, and then you've got two control columns. This is interesting. I need to check the history of this aircraft because basically those aren't the sort of control columns that you would have had on a British T-11 Vampire. Now this is a cool aircraft. This is the Miles Chichester Leopard. It's probably, well, it's those three words, hopefully, in some kind of order. Probably not the order I've just given you. But very, very cool, very ahead of its time. Makes a big deal about the fact that it was designed with AutoCAD, which was big at the time. Should have been a lot more successful. This is the tail of the Wessex, which is used for search and rescue. This weird thing, twin engine thing, is a Cree. If you want me to come back and look at that, I'll look at it another time, but not really total cup of tea. An interesting little autogyro, terrifying things. Then we come to, I think that's a Pou de Ciel under this blue cover here, which was basically a one of the first home builds. I think it was designed by a guy called Mignet, M-I-G-N-E-T, and it was a Pou de Ciel, and it was like a flying flea, they used to call it. Unfortunately, they had a habit of killing the owners until they were modified, but they had basically you could buy a kit, bits and pieces, and you could actually make your own one and then fly it. This is a Griffin 58, so this powered the mighty Shackleton. So a Rolls Royce, so if you like, it's a Merlin on steroids. This is the prop shaft, which takes, well, pointing with the wrong finger. So we've got basically a counter-rotating which reduces the torque on the engine. So you've got two propeller hubs that go on it. That's a Daimler-Benz engine. Oh no, it's not. It's a Umo. It's weird. Anyway, that's okay. That's a Umo. So these are two Umos. So Junkers 88 and JU 87. Here's another Umo. That's a Daimler-Benz 601. So it powered things like the 109E and the Messerschmitt 110 Destroyer. That's a Leonidas, which is the engine that powered things like the Sycamore helicopter, Dragonfly, Pembroke, and the Piston Provost that we just saw. Jet engine there, that's an Orpheus which I believe is the Vulcan engine. Alpha 502, which is the BAE 146. Goblin for a Vampire. As I said, we're not doing a complete review of all this, it's just to show you the aircraft that and the exhibit, so you can have a really good look at this wonderful museum and see it in your life, in reality. This is a Zeppelin propeller, which, as you can see, is jolly big. Okay, a couple of Viper engines. Oh, this one you can turn it over. Look at that. How cool is that? Woo. Lots of stuff for kids to look at here. Brilliant museum. Okay, where are we going next? Right, we better have a look at this inside this Wessex quickly. So there's lots to do here, and lots of great things to see. What would happen with the Wessex is pilots would go up there, and people in the back in the cabin would go in the cabin. So this is the cabin. I only flew Wessex once, but the thing that shocked me was the fact that that stubby thing there is the base of the control column, and it just looks wrong because you can see it so easily down the pilot's feet, which is weird. So these were used a lot for air sea rescue, rescuing people from mountains, from the ships and things like that. So they had a winch on the side. So we'll come out of there, quick whistle stop tour around there, and now we'll just go and see what the pilot gets to see in his high on his perch. Wessex was a very useful aircraft. The last ones that were in service were in Cyprus. So you've got Cyclex there, and then those are the yaw pedals, and they've got Westland motifs on the top of the yaw pedals, which hopefully you can see there. And then of course that's the big collective there. So collective pitch for the main rotors, cyclic pitch there for the main rotors as well, and obviously yaw pedals control the tail rotor thrust. Okay, right, I think that's more or less about it for the aircraft. I know there's a couple of other indoor displays, so let's go and have a quick look at those. Like there's a simulator in here. Which you can fly somewhere. I know, it must be in here, so it's under use at the moment. I think we'll come back to look at that one day. My goodness, even here we've got a taxi cab with the Bournemouth Aviation Museum number plate. We've got a metro. Some interesting eclectic mix of other bits and pieces here. We've got the beautiful links. So this is an ice version, which was the oh my goodness, is this the one that was used on Endurance? Yeah, for use in the Antarctic. So that's rather nice to see with all its covers on it. We've got a puddle jumper. Then we've got a beautiful T7 Hunter. And then this over here is a Wasp, which if you like is the Navy version of the Scout. So built by Westlands. An attack helicopter. Literally looks like a Wasp. And then in keeping with the other vehicles that you get around an airfield, you've got some fire trucks. Right, the thing that is good to always talk about on these museums is the other facilities. There is a cafe, Looks a nice little cafe. I'm not going to go in there because there are children around and I don't want to video anyone except for the aircraft and the exhibits. There's good toilets, which I can vouch for, and there is a rather nice bookshop which we've already looked at, and if we get a chance we'll have a quick look at the gift shop, which is really good. It's got some aircraft bits for those of us that like that sort of thing, models, toy aeroplanes. Cafe was empty, so I can sort of show you that. So you've got a nice coffee machine, and then you've got more beautiful models. You've got a nice simulator for the kids to play in, which is really cool, and more models, and places to sit and enjoy that nice piece of cake and coffee that you so love. Everybody loves a gift shop, and there's lots for everybody here, including models, nice drinks machine, and various other bits and pieces here. And unfortunately, I've gone and bought myself a Reed and Segrist turn slip for the Harvard and some books that I don't need. So it's a beautiful little museum at Bournemouth Aviation Museum. It's not far from Bournemouth. It's next to Wonderland over there, which is fun for family, and it's also a nice little friendly museum. It's not far from Herne Airport, which is now Bournemouth Airport as well, and obviously it's not far from Bournemouth. So there's lots to see, lots to do. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And if you've got any comments, or if you've got any corrections, or if there's anything you would like to see us visit, any museums or aircraft to cover, please let us know in the comments. So all the best, and fly high, aviatics.